Hi guys, and welcome to the start of the new vlog. Today I'm starting off on some old Douglas cylinder heads. So what I've got to do with these is put bronze thin wall guides in them. I've also got the pistons, which I'll show you them in a second. I mean, basically I should imagine that there's probably a little bit too much play in these valves. I've not actually checked them yet. I mean, they're going to be tricky to do because the actual valve seat isn't here. Let me get a screwdriver. It's down here. You might be able to see it. So just there is the valve seat. So I've got to get the guide in. I've got to get the new bronze thin wall guide in and then try and get my seat cutter down there to machine, which I think I can do. But yeah, basically he wants to try and lose this play. Oh yeah, they're quite bad on that one. Wow, they've gone oval. There's not as much play there as what there is there. Right, so the first thing that I need to do is measure the stem of the valve on both inlet and exhaust valves. And then make sure I've got a bronze thin wall guide to fit that. It looks like it's gonna be about 300 thou, something like that, 300 and... Right, so that measures to be 306 thou, 307 down there. So the valve has got, oh, 307 and a half, 307 and a half, 307, 306. So I'm going to go off the 307. So the next thing in this kit here, I've got all my different size bronze thin wall guides. So I should imagine it's these 5/16. And then there's the kits here for driving them in. And then, because you have to use an air hammer to size them, there's a kit in here as well. You can see this don't really get a lot of use, but when I do use it, it's a brilliant bit of kit. This air hammer as well. So what happens with a bronze thin wall guide is I will bore the original guide out. Just grab one to show you. So I'm going to bore the original guide out down here and then drive in this thin wall guide sleeve with the air hammer. And then I'll use the counter borer to trim the top and trim the bottom. And then basically with the air hammer, I will then drive through a ball bearing to size it. When you drive the ball bearing in, that's what also locks it onto the side of the original guide as well. So the first thing that I need to do is, with one of these tools, I'm hoping we can get in to sit on the valve seat, which we can't. This falls through. So what I'm going to have to do is probably use one of the valve seat installing tools to sit on there. I'll have to find one of those. They're quite a long guide as well, so I also need to make sure that this is long enough for, yeah, it is, it's plenty long enough actually. Right, so the first job is to counter bore them out, drive them in, size them, and then cut the seat. Make sure that it's the right driver, because this has got a concave in it for the ball bearing to sit nice. And then basically that goes in the air hammer as well. Like that. And then I'll just drop the ball bearing into the valve guide. This is where I need my needle nose pliers. Oh, here we go. And then with the air hammer, I'll put my hand over the bottom of the guide so the ball bearing doesn't fling out and go missing. That's one. Perfect. One more to do. Now I've put the ball bearing down to size it, the next thing to do is for me to trim off the excess. So I've got my countersink bit in for that. And then last but not least is just to take the burr off the inside. So now I've counterbored all the valve guides out on the Douglas. The next thing to do is to install the thin wall guides. So these are 5/16 thin wall guides, and this is the driver for it, which is sprung loaded. So all I do with this is the thin wall guide has actually got a taper on this one side, so that helps drive the guide in. So it always fits with the taper pointing out away from the air hammer, like that. Then, whoops, put that back up. Then from there, just line it up. When you hear the pitch change, that's basically that bit come all the way down, and that's like the absorber for making sure that it's hard up against the rest of the guide. And once again, look for the radius, install it into there. There we go, it's all the way home again. Last one to do. So now I can take this driver out of the air hammer, which you just do by pulling that spring back and releasing that. The next thing for me to do is now to size the guide. So what I've got to do first is snap off the excess, spot face it, and then size it. Now, to snap off the excess, what I normally use, if there is any up here, which probably isn't, it's still moving into this place upstairs. See if I could do it with these. Normally just some pin nose pliers I use, but I look for where the split in the guide is, and then with some pliers, just basically twist and it rips off. Like that. One more to do. And what I'll actually do first is I'll size it first before I trim the edges, because as you size, so I'll start this way, as I put the ball bearing down to size it, basically because it's stretching the bronze, the bronze will then stick out further here. So if I trim it up now, I'm only going to have to trim it up again afterwards. So the first thing I'll do is just drive the ball bearing through. I'll quickly just hoover up my mess. And this is one of the sized ball bearings. So I've got these in all different sizes. Because this is air cooled also, I'm going to give the guide a little bit more tolerance. In a tapered ring for that. So I'm doing the top. and the bottom. And hopefully now the valve fits in there quite nice. I think I just need to get rid of a bit more of the taper at the top, but now as you can see there's no real play in there. Perfect. So that's the thin wall guides in there. So now what I've got to do is try and mount it on the valve seat cutter and then just cut the seats. So I'm just starting to do the seats on the Douglas barrels, and I've run into the first problem. Where the seat is so far down, my Myra seat cutter won't, sorry, let's move that back, I'm trying to multitask here. My Myra seat cutter won't clear the guide, like the guide needs to be further down for the boss on the Myra, which is there, this bit here. So basically the tool is set now with the right guide in it, but I need the distance from there to there to be nothing basically. That's how tight it is at the bottom. I could do it on my Pro valve, but I'm struggling to see how I would actually clamp this barrel. So the only thing I can do actually is drag out one of my old bits of equipment, which is this old Wolf seat grinder, which is basically a drill and then it's stones, and then they have pilots that screw into the guide. Now I've had this bit of kit for years, and it's one of those bits of kit I don't use all the time because I don't think it's anywhere near as good as a Myra or the Pro valve, but it gets me out of trouble a lot of times. So basically I'm going to fit this guide or this pilot into the guide. I just nip up the bottom, and then that centralises on the taper, and the taper at the bottom there, and then we just bounce the grinder on the seat. Let's show you. I just use an old Allen key to lock it in. I'm using the Myra table just to secure it up a bit. Make sure there's no dirt or anything on there. In the guide or on the pilot. Then we just need to nip it up. Oops. Like that. And then the trick with this seat grinder is to always keep the stone moving. So what we don't want to do is just kind of let it sit and rest there like that with pressure on it. We need to keep bouncing it. So we just hold this bit and bounce it up and down on the seat. And then what I'm looking for is a nice grind mark all the way around the seat there. Needs a little bit more. In fact, the pilot's moved slightly. Let me just nip that back up. It's tight actually. What's going on here? There we are. I don't think I tightened it enough. There we are, perfect. And then what we'll do to check is, what we'll do to check is, I've been and refaced one valve, and I'll grind it in basically. Oh, the bloody pilot's stuck. There we are. So this is a valve that I've refaced. And then what I'm going to do is just put some carborundum paste on the valve. And then a tiny bit of spray. Oh, that stick's not a lot good. And we'll clean off the carborundum paste. See, it's done a nice seat all the way around on the valve. And it's done equally a nice job on the seat as well. So I'm going to now do the exhaust. Nice and tight. Make sure that the stone isn't wearing, because these do wear quite quick, and then that will obviously affect the seat. So that one needs quite a bit more on this side over here towards me. Little bit more. In fact, if you can see now, the stone has worn. So what I'm going to do now is quickly go and just dress that back up. So once again, I'm going to take the guide out, put some carborundum paste on my valve, and see if we've got a good seat on that one too. Yeah, that's got it. So that's the first one of these two 1930s Douglas barrels fixed. We've got the guide wear. Well, there's no guide wear now, it's just a really nice fit for the valve. So I'm going to quickly do the other one and then get them in the wash, and then I'll show you the next job that I've got to do on the Douglas. And there we are, that's both barrels now. The seats have been refaced, matching the centre line of the valve guide, and we've got two bronze thin wall guides in there, all sized to fit. I'm going to drop these in the cleaner, and then I'll show you the next job on the car. So the final job that I've got to do on the Douglas is find a way of securing the gudgeon pin. My customer has removed the original conrods, but the gudgeon pin is it's fitted with like a washer on this end, and then the centre of the gudgeon pin is then swaged out to lock onto the washer. And if I can get this off, I can show you the problem that we were having. So basically now that's off, there'd be no way of locking that back on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to machine this step off the gudgeon pin here. I'm going to machine that part off the gudgeon pin there, and then I'm going to make nylon bobbins that will just push in to each one of those, the bore of the gudgeon pin. And then the idea of that is the nylon bobbin will just about run up on the bore and stop the pin from coming out. So I've been looking for some nylon, and unfortunately the only bit I can find is that, which is the right material. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go and slice a bit out so I can make the 4 bobbins. So I've just been around to see, I've just been around to see Mickey at the body shop to see if I could use his saw to cut that bit of nylon down, and then he's given me a little bit of nylon bar, so that saved me quite a lot of work. So big shout out to Mickey for doing that. So what I'm going to do first is machine the ends off the gudgeon pins. So that's both pins now prepped. It's sitting perfectly flush with the side of the piston. And then what I need to do now is to machine the bobbin. So what I'm doing now is I've made these bobbins. Oh, sugar. And I'm just checking to make sure that they'll clear the bore. So this one needs a little bit more fettling. So I do that on the belt sander. And then just neaten it off in the lathe. And then that just gives it a nice radius as well. Nice and even. And then all I do is just push the rings back and then just check along there to see if I think it misses, which it does. I'd say that one there needs a little bit of better radius putting on it. So that's the Douglas complete. What I've done is machine down the gudgeon pins, and then out of some nylon bar that Mickey found me, I've made these little bobbins. And the idea of this is they could just keep the circlip in place, so they'll go up and down and they'll just delicately run on the bore, and it won't allow the gudgeon pin to come out. The other option would have been to put a circlip groove in the piston and run circlips, but I explained to my customer that I haven't got the tooling for that, and wouldn't really feel very confident with that. So yeah, he chose to go with this option. The barrels are done there in the cleaner at the minute, so I've thin wall guided them, as you've seen. And I'm happy about this. It's another 1930s car that we've managed, or motorbike, sorry. It's another 1930s motorbike or old vintage vehicle that we've kept on the road. So I'm going to box all them up now so Sam could take them back to the customer. And then this weekend we're getting ready to do our first race of the season, which is the third event for the pickup trucks, and that's the American Speed Fest at Brands Hatch. So Sam's been working on the pickup. I'm just waiting for some stickers to come from Larissa at L&N Graphics. We've got to just, the engine in it's new, so it needs bedding in on the rolling road. So we've got it booked in for that on Friday, and yeah, we're our first time out, so we'll see how we get on, I guess. I'm quite looking forward to this race. It is it's a good race to do, and I'm hoping that my grandkids come and watch as well, so it will be good if they do. And then other things have changed. The coach that we've been doing up, I'll show you that. Put these pistons on here. I mean, basically what we're going to do now is we're going to sell the coach because it's worth quite a lot of money, and we've got something new that we want to try and buy. The coach is now about 70% finished from when we took it apart. So we've put the two beds back in, made new bed frames. We've put a whole new flooring in, everything's carpeted, new ceiling, new lights. We've carpeted the door. It was all the old coach plastic before, carpeted down the bottom of the dash, behind the seats. And then we've put a good quality kitchen in it with a quartz top that Robbie got for us. So that was good. And then we've put a new cooker in it, a new sink, new hob, top cupboards. We put a full-size fridge in it because we always seem to run out of cold storage for food when we're racing, so we put that in it. Then we was just starting to get on with the bedroom. We've put a bigger shower and toilet in it this time, so we've got to finish these walls off here, and that's my bed there. But once it's finished, it's on the market for sale. What I want to try and do is free up some money, to be fair, and help just help a few people out with the money, mainly because my friend who races the pickups, Paul, he races number 12, it's known as Winkle. He's bought a new race transporter, so he's really well, in all fairness, he's only actually lent it to us at the moment, but I can basically pay him for this when the coach is sold. And the good thing about this is he's doing us a really good deal on the price. But this thing holds 2 cars in the back. It's got the viewing area up here, so you can get to that from inside the car, and then it holds 2 cars with a lot more storage in here. It's also 5 years newer than the coach, and then basically the living is quite nice in here too. Hasn't got as many beds as the coach. It's got this bed up here, this turns into a bed, and this couch here turns into a bed. It has a table that goes in the ground down there, and it's got a lovely little kitchenette as well. And then we're going to redo all the bathroom, not for this weekend, but hopefully for next time. And then if we sell the coach for profit, I'm going to get this resprayed at the end of the year by the guy that built my coach originally, Steve at AKA Race Transporters, because he did such a good job of it, of the coach, that I just want this looking as neat as what the coach does. But yeah, quite happy with this. The only bad thing with this is I can't drive it. This is Sam's the only one with a license for it. Oh, there's my phone. I wonder where my phone was. So the next video after this will be the racing video from Brands Hatch, which we're going to try and film all that. And I have got an injector video to stick up for a customer, Tom Lenthal, who I do a lot of and it's for another YouTube channel called Harry's Garage. So we've done the injectors for that and the inlet manifold, so that video is going to go up. We're going to stick this video up and then the racing video. So thanks for watching, guys, and if you could just leave the word Douglas in the comments below, that would be awesome. Take care, everyone, and we'll see you soon.